Welcome to part 3, guys, and in this tutorial we're going to be looking at rigging. Okay, now rigging is one of those things that isn't always the funnest thing to do. It can get a little bit difficult to do, especially when you're following a tutorial, because sometimes people didn't get their bone directions right, or something doesn't want to work properly. So just pay careful attention, and I'm sure we're all going to get through this perfectly and that your character will work just fine. So I'm going to try and explain as good as I can with as much detail as I can, and just make sure I go over everything. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just disable my subsurf for this. And one thing I'm going to do is go to my box settings here, and I'm just going to go ahead and make this wire under display, not wire over here, but where it says a maximum draw type, I'm going to make it wire. Okay, now we're not in wire mode, our character is now just wire essentially. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go add, and this is in, by the way, this is in just object mode, not edit mode. I'm going to go add armature, okay, and we want to add just a single bone, okay. We're going to make this from scratch, so just start with a single bone, okay. And of course my cursor was in the center when I did that, so make sure Shift S cursor to the center before you do that, of course. Then I'm going to take this and I am going to move it down to here. Okay, just to the bottom here. If I go to my right view, maybe move it in a little bit. Actually, don't move it on the Y, just make it go down. I'll just grab my character and my eyes and just move them more to the center, like so. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and select that armature. I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to move him down to here. Size it down a bit by pulling on this one. I'm going to press N to enable my properties panel, and I'm going to go ahead and where it says, if I scroll up here, there's going to be one. Okay, item, under item. Okay, the name of the top is the name of our armature. We don't want to change that, that's just our armature. But the little bone here is the name of the individual bone. So I'm going to call this one root, okay? Because this bone is going to be the root bone. It's still going to be the bone that we grab. That kind of moves everything if you want to move the whole rig, okay? So that's our root bone. Then I'm going to go Shift D and Z to move it up perfectly to about here. I'm going to grab this guy and just move it down. And this is going to be, guess, it's going to be our hip. And I'm pretty sure you guys probably can already guess what these names are going to be based on where I placed them. I mean, this is the hip, this is going to be the leg, pretty straightforward. And then this guy, we want to now parent to this. And to parent is really easy. We're going to go ahead, select this guy first, okay? And then holding in Shift, and this is very important, we're going to select this guy last, the root one, okay? It's very important you select the root last by right-clicking on it. Then I'm going to go Control P and connect, keep offset. And that reminds me I need to enable my screencast keys. Okay, so what I just did, I selected this one, holding a Shift, I selected this guy, and I went Control P and I just set keep offset. Okay, so if I go to my pose mode now and I grab this bone and I go G and move it around, that bone is parented to it. So I'm just going to go back to edit mode. Okay, and now with my hip bone selected, I'm going to go Shift, duplicate, move it here. Then I'm going to go rotate like this. Move this guy down here to here. Take this guy, move it here, and then I go to my right view. Move it to about there. Okay, so we want to get this bone, this little end of the bone, that little nub, we want to get it in the center of this loop here. Okay, that looks about right. Go to my front orthographic view. I'm going to call this leg socket dot L. Okay, and make sure it's capital L. Okay, and I'm going to emphasize it to you guys. It is very important that you name these things properly, because when we come to animating later, we want to be able to transfer animation data over to the other side of the rig, so we don't have to make the same poses twice. Okay, and if you didn't name things properly, it's not going to work. So when I say leg socket dot L, make sure it's dot capital L, not comma L, but dot L. Okay, And I know I'm going a little bit slow here, but I want to make sure that everybody understands what I'm saying here. I don't want anybody to get confused in this, okay? I just want to make sure everybody can follow along. Whether you're good with rigging or don't know much yet, I want to make sure you know how to do it. Then I'm going to select this little nub here, and I'm going to go E to extrude. And then bring it down to here. And for some reason, my wireframe isn't showing all the wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead, select my mesh here. I'm just going to edit mode, and just select this loop here and go Shift S, cursor to selected, and then I'm going to go to my bone system again, go into edit mode, and then selection with this knob selected. I'm going to go Shift S, selection to cursor. Now let's put it right in the middle of that loop there, and then I'm going to extrude this down by pressing E. Go to my right orthographic view and just move it to this joint here. Okay. Then I'm going to extrude a bone to this point here, and then another one here. Okay. Then I'm going to go select this bone here, this little knob there. Okay. Go to my right orthographic and then go extrude Y, and that's going to be our IK for our bone. And I'm just going to right click on this bone and then go Alt P, and we're going to go clear parents, okay? Because we want this to be a separate bone, okay? It's not going to be part of this chain here, okay? So we just cleared its parents. That's going to be our IK controller that's going to control our foot. So if we lift it up, our foot's going to, you know, move and stuff. So we don't have to select every single bone. It just makes things much easier, okay? And obviously I have to come here and I have to name these. And to make sure we can see what we've already named, I'm going to go in my bone settings here, where that little man is, okay? And I'm going to go enable names, and I'm going to enable axes, okay? The axes will show us the directions, which will be important later on, okay? So I can see here that this leg, okay, is called socket.l. I can see here in items, okay? This one, we want to name this upper leg, okay? So I'm going to go upper leg dot capital L, okay? Make sure you do it like that. I'm going to select this lower segment. I'm going to call this lower leg dot capital L, okay? Then I'm going to go to my right orthographic view. I'm going to select this guy right here, and I am going to name that foot dot L. I'm going to name this bit here toe dot capital L, okay? And this IK bone here, we're just going to call that leg capital IK dot capital L, okay? Just make sure the front bit doesn't ever matter as much like the leg IK part. What matters is that you put dot L, and I just want to emphasize on that. It's very important that you put dot capital L on the end of each one of these, okay? And there we have those named. And then what I'm going to do is I'm now going to create the spine. So I'm going to go to my right orthographic view, select the hip here, bring it down a bit, move it back a little bit, and I'm going to just extrude like so. And I am going to extrude to about up here, just above where the top of the mouth is. And then I'm going to extrude one more time, like so. And that's going to be the head. And because this guy has a very stubby body, it's only going to have one spine bone. It's not going to really bend too much around here, especially not around the mouth, okay? And I'm going to go and name this bone that we've created past the hip, this middle one here. I'm going to call it spine dot. And actually, you don't have to call it spine dot L. Just call it spine. Okay. And why did we not put a dot L next to it? Well, all the bones that are in the middle do not have to be mirrored. Okay, so they don't have to have a dot L or dot R. They can just be hip, spine, and head bone here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab the head bone, and I'm just going to name it head. Okay. Okay, only these bones that are on the sides of the middle bones need to have a dot L extension. Okay, because we're going to be mirroring them over to the other side. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm I'm going to select my spine bone here. I'm going to go Shift D, move it to the side. I'm going to rotate it like so by pressing R, bring it here, G to bring it in. I'm going to call this one arm socket dot capital L. Okay, like so. And then go to my right orthographic view. Actually, go to my top orthographic view and move this guy in here to about there. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and just E to extrude, and I'm going to go right here. And then again, I can't really see my wire that well. I believe this one here is the middle one, so I'm just going to go ahead. Whenever you can't see, just go into object mode, then select your character, go into edit mode, and I can see where the loop is. And I can go ahead back into edit mode on my bone system, and I can see my loop is where it needs to be. Go to my front view, just get it nice in the middle. That looks good. And extrude one more time to the wrist. Go to the top, extrude it there. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly go ahead and name these before I get ahead of myself. So we already named this arm socket.l. I'm going to go ahead and name this one upper arm dot capital L, and this one we're going to name, you guessed it, lower arm dot capital L. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and make our hand bone. So I'm going to select this knob and go E to extrude, and this is going to be our hand bone. Okay, and go ahead and just name it hand dot L, like so. Then I'm going to go ahead with this hand bone selected and go Shift Duplicate. Okay, and it's automatically now a parent of this bone, but I'm going to go ahead and just select it by clicking on it, right clicking on it, holding in Shift. I'm going to select the hand bone. I'm going to go Control P and select Keep Offset. This is now a proper parent of this bone here. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and select this little nub here, bring it in here, move this guy back a little bit, and then go Shift Duplicate this guy, rotate it like so. Okay, go to about here, and this guy we don't have to actually parent again, because this one, it actually, because we Shift duplicated from this bone, it now carries the parent information to this bone. Okay, so you can see it's properly parented by looking at the parent lines there. Okay, so I'm just going to go G, move this guy here, move this guy in the middle here, like so. Then I'm going to go just name this one. What should we name that finger? I'm just going to call it index dot index 1 dot capital L. Okay, then I'm going to go extrude here to that point, and then extrude one more time to about there. I'm going to name this one index 2 dot capital L. I always hate making the fingers, it just seems like so much work. But when it's done, it's done. I'm just going to go select this bone and call it index 3 dot capital L. Okay, so we got index 1 dot capital L, index 2 dot capital L, and index 3 dot capital L. Okay, and this guy only has 2 fingers, so it's kind of hard to know what to name which. But before I go any further, I'm just going to go to the edit mode on my mesh again. And I'm going to add some more. I'm just going to move these bits of geometry up. So I'm going to select these loops, just move them up like so. Same here. I think these guys will go back a little bit too much. Just like so. And this side's only going to have a 2-finger segment. And I'm going to select this knob again, just move it in the center there. It's going to do naming on this one here as well. I'm just going to call that. Let's just make that his thumb. Let's just name it thumb for example's sake. So thumb 1 dot capital L, and then we go ahead and just extrude to this point there in between those loops, and extrude one more time. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just name it thumb 2 dot capital L. Grab this guy and name him thumb 3 dot capital L, like so. Well, that was quite a bit to do just there. I hope you guys didn't get too bored watching me do that. Just gonna make sure these guys are nice and centered. And you know what, guys, that looks fantastic. I think that is really good, and we have it all named properly. And just whenever you do these kind of things, just go over it, just check all your names, you know, because we enabled names. Just make sure everything is named properly. That's good. Okay, that's really good. I'm just checking. That's really nice. Our rig is really starting to come together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and in object mode, I'm going to go ahead and select the rig system, and I'm going to put it on its own layer to make it easier for us to work as we continue with this tutorial. So with my rig selected here, I'm going to press M, and I'm going to press on the second little gray box here. And what that has done now, if I go out of wireframe mode, if I go down to here to my layer settings, I can see my mesh and my eyes on the first layer. If I click on the second one, I can see my rig is on its own layer. Okay, first layer, second layer. Okay, if I want to see them both at the same time, what I can do is I can click on my first layer and then holding in Shift, left click on this layer, and now they're both on the same layer. So that's how I can bring layers in and out. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly, holding in Shift, disable that layer there, the rig, so I can just quickly place my eyes here. I think we're going to go set up the eyes so we can actually start creating the bones for the eyes. Okay, so in my right orthographic view, I'm going to try and get my eyelid. If I this is enable wire. Okay, and I'll click on this little box, go down to display, and just click on wire, not wire down here, but this wire, so we can see where the middle is. And I'm going to lift it up to about here. Okay, so where this gap is in the eyes, that's where this middle line is. And then we go to the front, and I'm going to just try and get this as center as possible. Okay, that looks good. Then I'm just going to disable the wire. I'm going to grab my mesh and just under my display, okay, in the little box, click it, go down to display, and make sure it's set to solid. Cool. My guy's back to solid, so I can now go ahead, select my eye here, go into wireframe, grab my guy, and I can see that it goes in too much here, so I'm just going to go ahead, enable my proportional editing, go to vertex select, and I'm just going to try and clean this up a little bit. Okay, just bring this forward. All you can see, I'm just cleaning up here. Okay, so it doesn't protrude as much. And do keep in mind, later when we add the subdivision surface, it is going to make things nicer. So I just enable my subdivision surface again. You know, you'll see that things are a bit better. Now we are going to use shrink wrap modifiers later to fix some of these problems we have with the mesh going protruding in like that. You can see the eye geometry is kind of coming through there. And to see this better, I'm just going to go ahead, select the eyes, go to my material settings, and I'm just going to give this a temporary color. And down in my viewport settings, I'm just going to make this red, you know, nice bright red, so I can actually see where the eyes are coming through. Okay, so I'm going to keep the eye in the position that it is, and I'm actually going to come here and I'm just going to name it eye. Okay, and then I'm going to go Shift duplicate, right click to let go, and then I'm going to size, make this one just about as big as the eyelids are here. Okay, and then with this guy selected, I'm going to go Shift and select the other eye in the middle as well. Go to my front view, and I'm just going to press G and move these guys around till I feel that they're nice and as in the middle as they're going to get with the eyelids. Okay, that's really nice. I think that's good. A to let go. Now I'm going to go to my geometry. I'm going to select it. And actually, this step we have to do after we've cleared our parent. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to my wireframe, and for some reason I have moved this here, so I'm just going to go grab that geometry and just move it back. Okay, so our eyes are now kind of in a position where we're going to want them to be. And you'll understand why I've got a secondary, a bigger sphere around the eye. That's going to be for later tutorial. For now, let's just focus on our rig again. So I'm going to go in edit mode, holding in Shift. I'm just going to enable my rig layer again. And then with my rig selected, I'm going to go to this little guy here, and I'm just going to enable X-ray. Okay, so now we can actually see through. Going to my right orthographic view, go into bone edit mode, select the head, go into front view, shift duplicate, move it here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, just select my eye and go shift S, cursor to selected, go to my bone again, and with this, excuse me, with eye bone selected, I'm going to go shift S, selection to cursor, and that's now taken my bone directly in the center there. Then I'm going to take this knob here and I'm just going to go G and move it down straight like so. Make it like that, just get it as straight as I can. And that's going to be my eye bone, so I'm going to go ahead, select that bone, and I'm just going to name it I.L. Okay. Cool. And like I said, we're going to mirror all of this over to the other side, so you don't have to worry about it. Then I'm also going to go ahead, and I suppose we can make the eye controls later. We just need to keep that there for now. Okay. I'm happy with that. So for now, I'm just going to go back into object mode. Okay. And I suppose we could probably mirror the rig over to the other side. Oh wait, we have to actually add constraints first. So I'm going to go in this next part and I'm going to show you guys how we add constraints to the bones. Okay. So I hope I haven't overwhelmed you guys. Okay. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me and I'll try and help. And maybe even I'll put these out on the internet somewhere so you can actually look at the model itself.